Hello and welcome back to Take Two. We're your hosts. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Stacy.
We're both licensed therapists, and today we're talking about the Vanderpump Rules scandal.
And red flags and green flags in your relationships.
Yeah. All right, so Bravo.
Let's get some background here.
I never watched Bravo in my entire life until I started working with you.
I know.
And my sister would always try to get me to watch Vanderpump Rules and Below Deck.
One of the best.
And then you would be talking about it with Carly and Nicole, and I was like, I feel so out of the loop.
Yeah.
So I binge watched the entire season, all the seasons.
You did Beverly Hills, right?
I started with Vanderpump. Then I moved to Beverly Hills because of Lisa.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Then I went
Natural
to
progression.
Summer House. I think, do I watch any of the other ones?
You got to do
Winter
Southern
House.
Charm. You gotta do
I've been through Southern Charm as well,
Yeah.
so yeah. Because of Craig, because you guys, like, I love Paige, so you guys like gotta watch.
And I love Craig.
But I swear, even if you're not a Bravo fan, this is a good podcast for you.
No,
to listen
this is
to.
because this scandal has been all over the place.
I know.
I mean, you would think, right? Like, this is pretty crazy.
Will we give a little background to the people?
Yeah. Okay. So Vanderpump Rules reality show.
Yeah.
Surrounding a restaurant. Two of the characters, Tom Sandoval from my hometown of St. Louis.
Name dropping them.
Tom Sandoval and Ariana. What's her last name? Maddox, I think. Have been dating, 9-10 years.
Have a house together.
Yeah, like a good, solid relationship. Like something that you would probably look at and, I mean, individually, like maybe I have thoughts on him, but they seem like they had a decent relationship. To come to find out last week, or 2 weeks ago, last week maybe, that he has been cheating with another cast member who was a friend
For a long time.
of his girlfriend's.
Yeah.
In plain sight. And they were together.
Rumored while she was home.
Oh, right.
Another room.
Right.
That's
So
a big theme in Vanderpump. Multiple people hooking up with someone, a friend hooking up with someone else's significant other while they're home.
Jax and Kristen did that.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, I mean, that's a bold move. So I think we need to look at relationships in general and how do you know? Are there signs? Were there signs?
So what are your thoughts on the
On this?
Sandoval? Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have a lot of information yet, but like I know enough to know I think she needs to hit the road.
Yeah.
I don't think it's...
Talking about green flags and red flags, one of my red flags is, when they were making the drink book together?
Yeah.
So Ariana got a deal to make a drink book, and he was like, why you?
Yeah. He did act.
And then remember, he got in on it.
He had some behaviors, and then he did get in on it. Mm-hmm.
Like he couldn't let her shine.
Yeah.
Not
and
a
he
good
already
sign.
had his thing.
Couldn't let her shine. Not a good sign.
Not a...
So cheesy.
That's going to be our, what do you call it, bumper sticker. Oh, and here's another thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
One more thing. I think they had competing future plans. Like, I think he wants to be married and have kids, and she's very clear. She does not want to be married and have kids. So I think at some point you have to decide, okay, do we need to be aligned on this, or can I, give up the idea that I was going to, be a dad and married, and I love you. I'm going to have this other life with you. So I don't know if
And
that
I think
had
she
anything-
cares about her friends and cares about other people. And he would rather go drive dump trucks than be able to stay with her
Yeah,
on her
like
birthday that was hard to celebrate because of her dad passing.
Yeah, I think in
Right?
terms
Is that
of
the right
that's
thing?
right.
Yep.
In terms of red flags, I think we had some. So let's just talk about like in general, and then we can weave the Vanderpumps kids into
Examples.
this. Yeah,
And I think one thing I notice when I work with, because I work a lot with teens and young adults, and one thing I notice a lot is they just get in relationships. I don't know how much we've taught people to think about what do you want in a relationship and what is healthy. And my golden question I ask teens is, tell me one relationship that's in your life of adults or even friends that you look up to, that you're like, I want my relationship to be like that.
you could emulate. Yeah, yeah.
And they are have a really hard time thinking of people. Yeah.
I ask people that sometimes too.
Yeah. And so I think that's interesting.
Well, because a lot of people, this is true.
Yes.
To your point, don't have any healthy role models. So if you don't see it, you maybe don't realize that what you're doing is either, being in the same pattern as what you see, or just flat out not healthy because you haven't seen healthy.
Yes.
So it's all relative, right?
Yeah. And we know as therapists, a lot of times behaviors are patterns, right? So you get taught how to regulate your emotions from a young age, and how you manage anger, jealousy, or sadness is all kind of learned at a young age. So that follows you into relationships unless you take time to acknowledge it and work through it.
Exactly.
You can those patterns can just get...
Yeah, it's like parenting and attachment styles too, which is a whole nother thing. But it's like what you went through as a child and what you saw in your relationships, that shows up.
Yes.
So all of that is relevant in 3 different podcast episodes right there.
Right? I know. And my biggest one before we get into green red flags is with Danny, my husband.
Ooh, tell me.
Love you, shout out, but also, no, I'm kidding. But we came from very different not very different upbringings, but like a little bit different in far as what you do after an disagreement. Oh, yeah,
we talked about this in our anchor episode.
Yes. So when I am upset in my family, like, for example, me and my sister got mad at each other. We just wouldn't talk to each other for a month. That was the longest one. And then just act like... That's a long time. Yeah, and then just act like nothing happened. Like, eventually someone would crack, or we'd have to, like,
Ooh, we do that, too.
Or there'd be a common enemy, like we're with our mom or dad, and then all of a sudden...
You just come together and it's forgotten.
And we act like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So you never should acknowledge it, which is so unhealthy. Yeah. But Danny's family, or at least the way that Danny presented when we would get into disagreements, would be, like... right away wants to talk about it. Why are you upset? Like, let's talk about it. And then would just apologize and be like, well, why do you apologize for it? Oh, well, I don't know. That's just what you're supposed to do. So we had to find a way to, instead of just letting that fester, to be like, okay, I need space because my brain just shuts. I'm not used to having to talk about it at the time.
Especially right away, probably.
Right. Yeah. And so I have to say, hey, I need space. And then now he knows that. So then he will be like, okay, just come talk to me when you're ready.
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing, right?
Yeah.
Is like marrying kind of like how you are and how he is, and having him understand you're not being rude. Yes. You're not trying to be dismissive, but you need that. So.
And in a relationship, it's not about winning. It's about...
What? For sure.
Well, sometimes even,
usually it's not
even as therapists,
usually it's not about winning.
Where we work so hard on ourselves. We talk all the time about moments where I'm like, oh no, that time I had to lean into the argument, but
had to destroy
we
him.
have to use that weapon of yours, your words,
the tongue.
But we had to learn how to remember we're working as a team together for the relationship. It's not about who's right or wrong.
Yeah, and just being able to know that, I think, makes it easier, even if you still don't like the way that he interacts. Right, exactly.
It takes practice.
You know, like he's not being aggressive or not trying to poke at you, whatever story you were telling yourself. I think once you get to know somebody and you're in a good relationship, it's like, okay, this is how you operate.
Yeah.
So that's important.
That's good. Okay, so give me a green flag you have.
Okay, I think one of the biggest green flags in any relationship, but especially like a romantic relationship, is respecting boundaries.
Yes.
Right?
Do you want me to tell the people what we define about?
Sure.
I think as we were talking about this episode, we were informed a lot of people don't know the definition of boundaries. Yeah. To us, it's so like second nature. It's what we teach all day.
Right.
But, and you can add to this. Okay. What I wrote down is like, boundaries is limits and expectations that we set for ourselves and others. When a behavior, what behavior is acceptable and what isn't. If you don't have boundaries, people can treat you however they want. There are no rules or guidelines. So I think about the example I just gave with Danny. I set a boundary by being like, when I'm upset, I need space.
Yeah.
And he can respect it or not, you know?
Right. If you didn't set that boundary, how is he really supposed to know if you're just reacting?
Yeah.
So it's like to actively set those boundaries. By setting boundaries, you are teaching somebody how you want to be treated.
Exactly.
So having clear, and sometimes it's hard to set up boundaries because you're scared of the other person's reactions. But I think when you do have healthy boundaries and you're used to setting them, everything is so much easier. Like even just like a little example, texting. Yeah. Some people might want to text all day. Some people might be annoyed. So in a relationship, you might need to be like, you know what, during my school hours or my work hours, I'm not going to text you back or whatever it is. And that's your boundary. And once somebody knows that, they're not offended. It's not a problem, hopefully. And if it is, then you got to decide, right? When somebody walks over your boundaries, how do you react?
Exactly.
Yeah. So respecting your boundaries, that is a green flag. The flip side of that, the red flag, would be controlling, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think people taking advantage of your boundaries, and we talked a lot about controlling. So a lot of times people say they're scared of how people are going to, if you set different boundaries than you usually have, people are going to react differently because you're acting different. Yeah. And so a red flag around that we think of is a lot of times people might set boundaries of like, hey, like what's an example of a boundary someone might set?
how you want to like be physical in public. Like some people just want to hold hands and some people do not like physical affection in front of other people.
So if you're like, hey, I don't mind holding hands, but don't love like, anything more than that. And someone's like, no, this is what we're going to do. And they're not working with you. I think about controlling as a red flag is things like a lot of my teens tell me, like they might have, you can't like boys or whatever gender you like that you can't like that type of Instagram. But then they'll be liking it. And it's like, so you're allowed to do it, but I'm not allowed to do it. And I also think like trust is a big thing in relationships.
So that could be like even a whole nother, like what you're saying, like it falls under it, but like green flag trust, red flag control. That's true. I think that's better, like trust and control. Yeah, I think control for me, and everybody has a different degree of what, they're comfortable with. But I see with the younger clients, a lot of control. This person doesn't like when I wear this, or I get comments, and it's like, I don't know. To me, I don't think that's great.
I agree.
Even if it's just a little, I think usually when there's a little there, as you go further in the relationship, you see more and more of that side. So again, that could be something where something like that happens and you set the boundary of, just so you know, it's really important in a relationship that I express myself, the way that I dress, and I really don't want to be told not to wear something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we want to be mindful if you feel like your significant other's control is getting to a point where you're not hanging out with your friends as much. Like maybe they don't want you to go out with your friends if they're not going to be there, things like that. So if you're starting to get isolated, that's when we really want to pay attention.
That's a big red flag.
Because that's a huge red flag. We start isolating ourselves from our friends. We start to see
because then you end up being more dependent on this person too, where it's not the healthiest relationship, and you don't have that connection with people that could say to you or could see what's happening. So that's done by design a lot of times, I think. So I think that is a big red flag.
Wave the red flag.
Red.
I wish we had flags.
Stop.
Green
Maybe
flag.
we could get flags. Okay. Flag. All right, what's another green flag?
I said like if they're very validating. Like if you spend time together and you genuinely are laughing and you're having fun together and you're bettering each other, like, and they're validating of your experience. I think Danny and I can both have a similar, like, one thing happen and have different perspectives, but he will be respectful and validate, like, for me, I felt like he wasn't actively listening, or for me, like, we can have two different truths at the same time, and that you can validate people, and
you don't have to agree to validate.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, you do not have to agree with the person to validate their experience.
And again, with people's feelings, those are your feelings. I might not agree with, like, how you got there, but, like, those are your feelings, so I have to validate those.
Yes.
And I think, like, when you validate, kind of like you're saying, it shows that you're connected and that somebody's listening to you, you know, and not being dismissive.
Yeah.
So
I like that.
The red flag would be not listening to you.
Gaslighting you a little bit.
Gaslighting at the extreme, you know, like literally making you doubt your experience.
Which gaslighting's been thrown out there
it's
so
overused,
much.
but it does happen.
If it's real, like, to the definition of gaslighting,
it happens.
That's definitely a red flag.
Absolutely.
And also I think just like a red flag would be them, you know, there's a balance of, like, I think sometimes in teen relationships you see people, like, only hang out with their significant other, and that puts you in a very, again, isolated spot. And it could be both of you, and it could just be that natural, like, we like each other so much, but the idea of, like, it's really important to have a support system and to have friends and to be able
and to not let that go when you get in the relationship.
Exactly. So I think a red flag would be if you start, again, to isolate, even if it's as a couple.
I know, and maybe to even be mindful of that, because it might not be negative, it might not be somebody doing that to you, but just to look at, okay, how is this going to affect me? And eventually you're probably going to want to have connections to other people too.
Yes.
We all have that friend that just drops us at the sight of a boy.
Yep.
You know who I'm talking to.
Were you
not
that
gonna say
type
your name.
of friend?
No.
No, I could not see that. No.
I did not have a lot of boyfriends. But that will lead me to my next.
Tell me.
One of my green flags that I had was, I said loyalty, but really that's not the case. I think the green flag is knowing what kind of relationship you're in.
Oh.
You know, because
what do you mean by that?
Well,
Give me
because
more.
I think I've had clients that say, oh, I found out that, I'm just going to say he, because in this case it was a he. He cheated, but he thought we were not exclusive. He thought we were dating.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Always.
Do you think is that gaslighting?
Only, my opinion would be only if you've had the conversation.
So if you're like, we're exclusive, we're not going to go with other people, we're dating.
And then
or even if they say we're exclusive and we're not going to go up with other people.
And then they tell you
that we're not boyfriend and girlfriend, but they had said.
No, I think that's kind of gaslighting, don't you?
Right?
Yeah, because I think that's just making you doubt your own experience or making you like, did we have that conversation?
Yeah.
But I do think in the beginning, and maybe not even always in the beginning, if it's unclear, there could be somebody thinking, honestly, I like this person, but I can still see other people, where the other one is like planning the wedding. So it's a good, it's a good idea. Open communication.
Yes.
To know that you're on the same page. But when you are on the same page and it is a one-on-one, non-exclusive, or exclusive rather, relationship, obviously loyalty is a big deal.
Yes. And I think about, when I work with teens about intimacy, I say if you're not ready to communicate about it, like what feels comfortable for you or what doesn't, then you are not ready to be intimate, because it's really important to be able to talk about it.
That's such a good thing to say. I like that.
So I like that you said open communication. I totally agree.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the opposite of that would be like cheating and lies, and we see that a lot.
Yeah, and I think we also said like if you're scared to bring something up as a red flag, like if you're scared they're going to break up with you, or if you're scared to end a relationship because they threaten that they're going to. We see a lot of people threatening to hurt themselves or like, again, we really want to make sure a healthy relationship, you feel comfortable bringing topics up, even if they're hard.
Yeah, and not a manipulation. If you're trying to share your feelings and somebody's threatening, first of all, they're making it about them. They're not receiving what you're saying. Yes. And then you're kind of fear-based. Yeah. So, Yeah.
I think those are good.
Can be yourself, green flag. Yeah. That you don't feel like you have to show up as a different person or look a certain way. I think that's important.
You can be your authentic self with them, for sure. And I always say, like, it's supposed to be you two against the world. So you want it to feel like, and with all relationships, there is healthy disagreements, fighting. There's always conflict. Right, conflict. Healthy that's what I meant. Healthy conflict. And so that helps you grow. And we want to make sure that... that's why I think it's important to take time to reflect on your relationship and say, was that a healthy conflict?
Okay. So the take two for this could be?
Yeah, just to reflect. So, we always say take two. And I think if you are looking for a relationship or in a relationship,
questioning your relationship,
it's always helpful to just, again, gain that self-awareness about how you're feeling about it. And it can feel overwhelming, I think, at the thought of like, oh, my relationship, there's just so much that goes into it. So being able to take two, so taking time to think about it, building that awareness. How do you feel about your relationship? What do you think about it?
Yeah.
What behaviors do you do in your relationship that you like?
How do you show up? How does the other person show up? And is that how you want it to be? Is it where you want it to be? And if not, thinking about, okay, like what are the things?
The knowledge piece.
Yes. Like what are the things that I would like to see different, and what can I do, and how can I communicate this?
Yes.
And what am I asking?
What can I learn about my needs? What can I learn about their needs?
Yeah.
What can I learn about how to change this pattern of behavior?
And if something's not clear, asking for clarity.
Yes. Engage. So then making a plan. So if maybe it's just, the plan is just to continue to reflect, or maybe the plan is to have a conversation with this person about it.
Yeah.
And we always say when you go into conversations with other people to use I feel statements, right?
Should we do an example of an I feel?
For sure.
Okay, so it's basically I feel blank when you blank.
Yes.
I would like you, or I need you
to do this instead.
To do this. So
why do we use I feel statements?
Because I feel statements put the focus on your feelings. Yes. They stop people from being as defensive. I mean, this is another thing where I'm like, okay, this is cliche, but let's do an I feel statement. And I really do believe in them because it is true. At the very least, you're going to get to express more of yourself because I think people receive it. Instead of saying, you are always late, you don't care about me. I feel dismissed when you're late. I need you to at least call me. So it's just a different way of framing your need. And I think, like we said earlier, people can't really argue with your feelings. Yes. They could argue with if they need to text you.
With what you're asking, right? Like, so the example of, I feel frustrated when you show up to our podcast and are not prepared. That might be how you feel about me.
Not even frustrated. Not getting caught in this trap. Trying to trap me every week.
No, but what I'm saying is then, maybe
you'll stop
I
at nothing
be like,
to trap me.
I will. One day we're going to get her. No, but I think
instead of saying...
but maybe if I'm like, well, that's just how I operate. Like if I sit there and think about it, that's just not how I work well, right? So then for me, I might say, like, I can validate that you're frustrated. However, like, it's really hard for me to prep. So what can we do together? Maybe it's like, let's set some time up on Friday or a half hour before we record where we can go through it together.
And that's you just honoring my feeling. Even if you disagree.
Yes.
That's a good example. You could disagree, but saying, okay, I don't want you, this is uncomfortable. You're sharing with me. I know you don't want to feel this way. How can we work on the feeling?
Yes.
So the I feels are for a couple reasons, but they're really an effective way to tell somebody how you feel without being super accusatory. And I think it's easier to have a tone that's maybe not as aggressive or
80% of
angry.
Language is body language and tone and those things that I think we don't realize.
So I practice a lot with people, just even constructing an I feel, because it's like, first of all, how do you feel?
That's true. You got to label your feeling, which we know is really hard for people.
It can be hard, and it can make a difference. Once you really realize how you feel, you might want to show up differently.
Yeah.
I might have thought I was angry, but maybe it's hitting on something that's more about
you're
me.
Worried, or you're
and it
sad
changes.
or jealous.
Yeah.
Like, it can be different feelings.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
So I think reflecting on all of it, and if you do have an issue, this is a good way to present it, to say, like, okay, I'm thinking about a relationship and I want it, it's ongoing. I want it to be healthy and I want to,
I like
be a
that.
green flag.
So in your take 2, for the engage part, you can practice writing I feel statements.
All right.
I like that a lot.
Let's do that then.
Okay.
And Tom Sandoval, you could get back to us with that I feel. I don't know how that's going to look, but
I would love to hear him do an I feel statement.
You could try.
Like, I feel.
Maybe we'll follow up as we get more information on the scandal.
Oh
but it gave us a good idea, just thinking about healthy and unhealthy relationships.
Makes me very excited. I want to watch the Vanderpump Rules reunion. I'm very excited.
Heck yeah.
Do you think Rachel's going to be there, Raquel?
Rachel. Yeah. Why wouldn't she be there? She's going to be there.
No, they were saying because she has a restraining order against Sheena.
Yeah, but I thought Sheena was the one not going to be there.
Well, Sheena said I didn't do anything wrong. Why would I not be there, I thought.
We'll see. We'll follow up on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. So everybody take 2 on your relationships.
Yes. Anything else you got going on this week? Any personal notes that we can learn about? You're going on a trip soon.
I am going on a trip, but I was going to tell the story. Do we want to weave in the story? I don't know.
What story?
About when I was a freshman and I was dating a guy.
Oh, yes. Tell us about your relationship,
I mean,
Stacy.
this is after the fact, but I was telling my friend this because she forgot. I don't know how. That when I was a freshman, I dated this guy, and he was a junior. Like, that's a little bit of a gap, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not a totally, I don't know. So he had this old
Red
girlfriend.
flag. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, red flag. He had this old girlfriend, and he was supposedly dating her the whole time. I let him take her to a dance. He was like, well, she's friends. He didn't go to my school. She's friends with these friends, and we already set it up. And I was over here just like, okay, that sounds good. Because I think, like, I just liked him so much. And to your point about not wanting to push back. I mean, I was very sad. I wanted to get in the dress.
That's
and
what I was
going to
say. Wait, I thought it was like, sometimes if people go to different schools, you go to
We did
two
go to
dances.
different schools.
So you didn't go, because you were freshmen, so you didn't go to any dance?
I didn't have any dance.
Oh, I thought it was a situation like,
No.
my high school, but then let's say someone at a Catholic school, so I go to this one and that one?
No.
So I thought it was just that one.
Well, if I had one, I would have taken him because he was my only boyfriend. Thank you. But then I found out this old girlfriend, he was like just still dating her the whole time. And I just like basically was like, the parent, I'm like, have a good time at the dance. Like, be careful. Yeah. So.
I didn't realize it was the only
I know.
dance.
I was telling my daughter that. And it's like, oh my gosh, you look back, the things that you let go.
Who were you to Ella?
Yeah.
What did Ella say?
She was just like laughing, I think.
It's like, Mom, come on.
I know. Like,
be better.
But honestly, it's so true. Sometimes you don't see what you don't want to see. So that it was a red flag that I ignored. Mm-hmm. And like looking back.
Where if you take time to take 2, then it's harder to ignore those.
And I would have asserted my needs. I would have said, I feel.
If it was now, you would have been like.
Oh, yeah, now I think I'm pretty boundaried. I'd be good now. That wouldn't happen now.
No.
But yeah, back then. So that's all. Do you have anything to share?
No, I think I can't really top that one.
I mean, well, what was do you have a red flag experience?
A red flag experience?
Either done to you or did you do it to somebody else?
Did I do it to somebody else? I'm sure many. College was a rough time period for me.
Was it? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think so.
I want to hear.
Well, I didn't really drink in high school, and then I got to college, and I don't know. I thought I was
Party.
Yeah, and I think you do a lot of things when you're drinking that you wish you didn't.
So true.
But no, I was telling you the story about when I really liked a kid, and then it was New Year's, and it was like time to, New Year's kiss, and I don't know why I really had to go to the bathroom, so I went to the bathroom, and I came back, and he was kissing another girl, and he didn't know I saw.
It's devastating.
So then I acted like I didn't see. I was like, hey, and he's like, hey. And tried to kiss me. I'm like, excuse me, I just saw you kissing another girl.
Not
Red flag.
Not it.
Not it.
No, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad to see. That's a hard thing to see.
It is. And I think I have a lot of stories from college that
I mean, I know, and it's just important, I think.
probably me being a huge red flag as well.
I mean, I maybe have a few, but yeah.
Yes. All right.
We're all good now.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. And now we are in, would you say, we're both in healthy relationships.
Yes, we're in the green flag
We're in the
territory
green
now.
flags, baby.
Knock on wood, we're green flagging it. So if you have any questions about this, reach out.
Let us know. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Take2Pod. Take2.
But I think there's a dot.
.pod.
Mm-hmm. We just started this account, so we're struggling. Take2.pod.
We're see, this is the preparation thing we were talking
about. We're going to write it. We're going to write it on the
it'll be
bottom.
somewhere on the screen.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Boy, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Take-Two podcast. Lindsay and Stacy are licensed therapists, but they aren't your therapists, and this podcast is not therapy. Production assistance is provided by Bird Blue Creative at bird.blue.